Welcome back to the channel. Today we are on the 996 X50 and the job I need to do today is a spark plug and coil pack change. If you have listened to my podcast, you would have known that I had a slight hiccup or slight misfire after the last service at the local Porsche specialist, and that is, I think, down to the fact that these coil packs in particular probably are the original ones from factory, and they are quite known to split and crack and obviously then cause issues with misfire. So the new spark plugs I will be fitting are the original Beirut twin spark ones. They are R6118 if you are interested in that. And with the coil packs, with all the 996 turbos now, the old versions are no longer available, and actually it's a good thing because all the new coil packs are now the 997 versions, so far more robust, better built, better quality, and ultimately, hopefully, better performance as well. So that is what I'll be fitting today. It is a bit of a, it should be an easy job, but there's a lot of stuff to remove. So you've got to take the back bumper off, the rear lights, the inner linings of the rear arches. You've got to remove obviously both wheels and intercoolers. There's a couple of heat plates that you have to remove as well just to get access to the spark plugs. So yeah, that's the joys of a rear engine car, I guess. So let's get over to the car and start taking things apart. Okay, so we have the car jacked up. Time to now remove the wheels and rear bumper and lights and inner lining here, really to all get access to the engine, which is sat behind all this. So let's get taking all of this apart. Okay, so with the wheel off, you can see obviously behind, but just back there, you can see, if that zooms in, that is the far end coil pack. So behind this rear liner, bumper, gives you a bit of perspective of where sort of the engine is sitting and where the coil packs are, so it's right back there. Anyway, so let's start removing all of this, and hopefully we can get a good line of sight to that little coil pack at the back. Okay, so for the inner liner, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, which are sort of screws, and then you have like these plastic sort of bolt heads, 1, 2 here, and then while you're here, if I can just shine a light on it, just there, you will see there's a screw which holds part of the bumper in, so make sure you don't forget that one as that comes out. So that liner's ready to come out, but now I'm going to remove the bumper and do the liner the other side so it can all come off together in one. Right everyone, so we have removed the rear bumper and it is really pretty simple, to be honest. I think overall 4 screws here at the top, 2 underneath at that corner, 2 underneath at that corner, and then 1 in the middle, 1 in the middle, and that is it. And literally you just give it a little pull from either side and it all pulls away really simply. When you do remove the bumper, there's a little clip here which is for your rear reg plate lights that you simply just unclip, and that is done. Now, what I did do before I removed the bumper is just these 2 screws to remove the rear lights, and again it's just a clip, and there's a metal bar that runs, really just an aesthetic piece that is that one there. And that is it. That's the rear bumper moved. And as soon as you remove the rear bumper, because we've undone the inner linings, they just fall away. So that now gives us access to the intercooler, which is this beautiful thing here. And these ones are the bigger versions, which have the sort of bumpier finish to them because they're the X50 power pack. And what we have to do now is just undo this part here where it connects into the forge piping, and then there's a connection where it connects up the top, but the main thing now is the brackets. So these front 2 brackets, or front 2 bolts holding the bracket, they just have to be loosened because you slide it out, and then these ones here and at the back you undo, and then ultimately it just sort of slides out and drops down, and hopefully that is it. Then we will have access to the heat shielding, which you can see running around here and here, and that's where we pull that up to get access then to the other heat shield across the coil packs, which we undo, and then finally we have access to the coil packs and the spark plugs. Not a mission at all. So anyway, let's get removing this intercooler. Okay, so we have the intercooler removed, and I think, yeah, a couple of tips on this one. So obviously you have your pipe here that needs to disconnect and your pipe here that needs to disconnect, and those came apart quite easy for me because obviously they're fairly well lubricated, so they slot in nicely to the unit itself. There is 1, 2, 3, which is on the heat shielding, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 bolts of all shapes and sizes, which yeah, keeps it fun to ultimately remove the intercooler. Once you've removed it, one thing to obviously check is just the condition inside, and as I've just done, I've just hoovered out any sort of loose debris that's caught up as it comes through the intakes here, through the back quarter panel into the intercooler itself. So, right, this is now the home stretch. So we're going to lift this up. We're just going to bend this up gently. There we go. And there you see the heat shielding here for the coil packs, and there's one and then two bolts there that we have to remove, and then I think we ultimately slide it out this way somehow, and then we start to remove the coil packs, so hopefully it all will come apart nice and easy. Okay, on the home stretch. Everyone, so what you can see with my particular X50 is I have aftermarket exhaust system which is switchable, and obviously the fittings for that are slightly different to the original, which are a little bit easier to remove the heat plate. So you would have saw me sort of fighting just to get to the heat plate. Usually you can come straight in at this angle, but I had to come underneath with a spanner, which is fine, but the heat plate also doesn't slide out as easy with the setup that I have, so literally it just drops down behind, which is fine. And there they are. You can now see the coil packs, which behind them are the spark plugs. Now it is the original coil packs. You can see there that the fitment, the Allen key head, and oh sorry, the light just dropped. Yeah, the way these are stepped are very different to the ones that I'll be fitting. So yeah, that's interesting that these are the original ones. Car's done what, 40,000 miles, so I think they've had a good innings since the car was made, I guess in 2003. And my hope now is that these bolts, these Allen key head bolts that are holding the coil packs, give up easily and come out easily without any headaches. But as you can see, all of them very accessible. This one a little bit more difficult with that final one, but I'll probably come in with a wobble head just to make sure I can get that, so I don't have to remove any of this stuff because it looks a little bit rusty, which would be a nightmare. So let's get removing these and see the condition of them, and also the spark plugs. So here we have old with new, and this is the old coil pack and old spark plug that I've just removed, the first one. So I thought I'd do a quick comparison just so you can see like for like. I mean, first and foremost, the spark plug looks in relatively good condition. Not sure how long they've been in there. I think it's definitely a few years and a few thousand miles ago, but overall they are still in really good condition. New one obviously much better, and like for like, perfect. This is the old coil pack, and as you can see versus the new one, the way this step happens, and the top of it really is just a slightly smaller unit compared to the new one, which has ultimately a more enclosed case at the top as well. So it feels weight wise, very similar. They're quite heavy units. I mean, obviously everything's built into the unit itself. A top tip when you're removing these is that you see this little clip just here. In fact, we'll zoom in, there we go. That is the clip that the harness, the coil harness, clips into, and it's worthwhile removing the clip while these are still screwed in, just to save you fighting with it. And just get a very small flathead screwdriver in and just lift the clip up and then slide it off, and you'll find it's much easier than trying to remove it while these are still, or if you've removed these, because you risk ultimately snapping the clip that holds them onto the coil pack, so you don't want to be doing that. So overall, here's the new, here's the old. We'll start fitting the new ones now, and hoping that this fits together nice and simply. I know that there is stuff out there saying that with the new bolts and the new fitments that sometimes space is a little tight, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so you can see the new coil pack and spark plug have been fitted, and you see the clip there that I said about earlier. There's a rubber booting that you push back, and it allows you just to grab the end of it in a bit more of a careful way, slide it in, and then ultimately you just pull down the rubber boot, which I'm doing now. As you can see, there's the rubber boot, and then I'll slide that over the unit connector end just to make sure that that all is secure. But the unit is in nicely fitted, and now we go on to the others. So you can see that the unit looks slightly larger, but should all fit nice and easy. It's yeah, quite an interesting job this, because obviously there's not much space to work with, but everything seems to be pretty simple once you've got this back one done, and the other two are a bit more accessible. Okay, let's get these done. Okay, so we have nice shiny new coil packs installed. As you can see, that one there is the only one that really has a slight, I guess, obstruction from this pipe. But to be fair, if you've got a wobble end, then that is fine. But otherwise, they all clipped in nicely. There's the clips above with the rubber boot covers. That one could come down a little bit more. That's it, all done. Yeah, so that is one side done. So now we have to put the heat shield back up, pop this heat shield down, reinstall all of the intercooler, and then yeah, I think also maybe put the liner in before putting the bumper on, because that seems to be a bit easier. You may have seen that I removed this partly in sort of before removing the actual intercooler. This actually supports your bumper and obviously alignment, so if you do remove these, make sure that you get the screws exactly as they came off, so when your bumper fits back in it should be nice and flush. But there was a bit of weird tape just sort of hanging down here, and it looks like from factory they put some sort of, I don't know, like tape that maybe just protects the bumper a little bit, but mine had peeled here, so I just sliced it off just to make it neat and tidy. But anyway, that is, yeah, the right hand side of the engine done. Now I'll start to put all this back together and move on to the other side. Okay, so I've skipped obviously removing a few bits on this side, like the intercooler, which is there, just hoovered it out and stuff like I did with the other one. Just had a general look around, make sure everything is good, which it is. But the one thing you'll notice is a lot more space on this side, or it feels like there's a lot more space. So heat guard is raised up, and the bolts for the heat plate covering the coils, you can go straight in on these, much easier, where the other side seemed to be a bit more, I don't know, it just seemed to have a few more fittings in and around, and this particular fitment on the other side was directly in front of that bolt. So this time, much easier, and I've already loosened that one and that one. Take that off, and then we'll start changing the spark plugs on this side. Okay, so we have the other side now completed. As you can see, the new coil packs are nice and snug and tightened down with the clips and covers all installed, with obviously new spark plugs as well. So now just to slide up the heat cover, and that should hopefully slot in nicely. Then obviously this cover down, then intercooler, pipes connected, bolts on, and then we can think about putting the inner liner in. Then it's the rear bumper and both rear lights, and that should be it. Fingers crossed. Okay everyone, so as you can see, all the intercoolers are now fitted, this side and other side, heat shielding all in place, so everything been put back together the way it came apart. So a little bit of a painful process because there's generally not too much space when you are behind all of this stuff, but it's all gone back together nicely. I've also put the inner liner in the wheel well back, so really it's just the bumper and the rear lights to go back in. But before I do that, I am now going to test to see if everything works as it should. So we should get a good start, everything should idle nicely and there shouldn't be any issues there. I think one interesting thing when you look at this layout here, a lot of the work I've done is behind this intercooler, so it really does show you how far back that engine does sit. And yeah, I mean, it's you can just make out there the black. Just here is the coil pack on the far bank, on the far right hand side nearest to the driver, so going that way. It really is right on back there. But yeah, let's give this car a start and see if everything works as it should. So Big Blue is back on all four wheels, off the jack stands, back to normal now. As you would have seen in the video, when I started the car, it still has that misfire. It still is cutting out when idling. So the fact that I've done the coil packs and spark plugs means that I've eliminated any issue with the potential coil packs themselves. So that now leads me on to the front end of the car, which is the fuel pump. And I know that that can be an issue if the fuel pump is failing, that it won't provide the pressure required to keep the engine running. And the telltale sign for me on that as well is that when it is idling and ticking over and running, when it gets past its like mishaps and misfires, when I apply the throttle it literally kills the engine and cuts out immediately, which would suggest there's some sort of starvation of fuel. So I think the next stop for me is that fuel pump at the front, potentially a new fuel filter as well. But I can't move the car basically until I get this sorted, because it has no power. So yeah, that's going to be the next video, I think, is trying to dismantle the fuel pump in the fuel tank at the front, which is going to be a bit of a messy job. And I've got about 3/4 of a tank of fuel in there as well. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure on how well this is going to go. But any of you watching, if you've had similar issues with your car, especially the turbos, if you've had misfire, cutting out and so on, please drop a comment down below and let me know what you did and what the resolution was to fix it. But other than that, the coil packs are done, the spark plugs are done, everything's back to normal in terms of the fitting of intercoolers. There's no air leaks because I've got all the forge system on this, so everything is locked tight and done nicely. So yeah, onto the fuel. But anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for following, and the next video will be along very soon.